shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
We have another day of dangerous heat on the way, and this time a heat advisory. I'll talk about just how warm it will feel and when we could see relief coming up.
Plus, the countdown is on this morning for the major groundbreaking of VinFast. Coming up in an interview you'll see only on WRAL, the company's U.S. CEO talks about its future.
And would you rather drive about 90 minutes to a DMV with no wait or wait in line for 2 to 3 minutes at something closer? Well, some people are choosing the road trip. What the DMV commissioner wants you to know about certain DMV locations and the services they offer on Saturdays. We'll get you prepared if you do need to, renew that driver's license and get those things done. It's 4:30 on this Friday. Going to be another hot day, one of the hottest days of the year. I'm Renee Chu.
I'm Jeff Hogan. Yeah, no doubt about it. And we've already seen the last two go that way. So as we head towards the weekend, just things looking up right now. Anthony Baglione is in the WRAL Severe Weather Center with that heat advisory.
Yeah, certainly no break from this heat. Yesterday and the day before, we hit 97 on the mark. And today, I think we're going to probably be right about that yet again. But this time, we also have a heat advisory, meaning those feels like temperatures will be worse than what we've seen the past couple of days. Here is where that heat advisory is. It's our entire viewing area. And keep in mind, this goes until 8 p.m. tomorrow evening. So today and tomorrow going to be dangerously hot out there. We start off here even by about 11 o'clock this morning. Feels like temperatures close to triple digits, right about 107, let's say 105 to 109 across most of our viewing area is what it is going to feel like here today. We're pretty quiet right now, though. It's a nice calm start here in North Hills, but you walk outside, it is certainly warm. Nearly 80 degrees there in Raleigh already, 79 in Durham. Good morning to you in Clinton. Goldsboro also checking in at 76 right now. Heat index not necessarily at the moment a big factor for us, but it feels like 81 there in Raleigh, 81 in Durham. We will continue to watch that, though, here. We'll talk about when we could see potentially a break from this heat and some storm chances, guys, here coming up in just a few minutes.
VinFast is finally ready to start construction on its new factory, and we are just a few hours away from that major groundbreaking in Chatham County. The Vietnamese electric car maker will break ground on its mega site at 9 a.m. Governor Roy Cooper and other top officials will be there. It's a $4 billion factory, one of the largest economic development projects in state history. This is an artist's rendering of what the first phase of the plant will look like. The start of construction comes 16 months after VinFast announced plans to build the factory, which is expected to open in 2025. In an interview you'll see only on WRAL, VinFast's U.S. CEO spoke with us about how the company plans to train people for the 7,500 jobs the plant is expected to bring.
When they were trained at the schools, at the vocational schools or community college, we needed people to be trained at our plant at least 3 months in advance. 3 to 6 months in advance before we can put them into production lines.
Part of today's celebration will also happen at PNC Arena. VinFast guests will get to test drive one of the electric SUVs that will be made here in North Carolina.
This is a sight we can all relate to, extremely long lines at the DMV. Now some people are driving longer distances to avoid wait times at certain North Carolina locations on Saturdays. And the DMV commissioner wants you to know there's practically no wait at half of the offices. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey joins us live to walk us through where and how you can avoid DMV frustration. Kelsey, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Let's be honest. One of the most frustrating parts about going to the DMV is waiting in line. And this DMV office on Avent Ferry Road is known for having a line that wraps around the building on Saturdays. And this morning, the DMV commissioner is telling people that there are some options for you if you want to avoid the wait. He says people who live in Raleigh are driving an extra hour to places like Fayetteville to avoid waiting in line, which is something to consider when the wait can be more than 2 hours at some locations. The commissioner recommends before you make a longer drive, make sure you have the correct documents for your visit and check out the DMV's online wait time tool.
Use our walk-in wait time tool and get an approximation of what the wait time may be, and knowing that there could be a lot of new drivers that show up and it may change.
Commissioner Goodwin is trying to get the word out that all of the DMV offices that are listed here are open on Saturdays have been reporting little to no wait times for the last month. Now, Saturday walk-in hours will be in place through August 27th, but he says that him and his team are trying to work through ways to get more Saturday walk-in offices and extended hours during the week for the fall. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
Happening today, Nash County's Board of Commissioners will hold a special meeting to talk about the findings of a WRAL investigation into the county's Social Services Department. This week, WRAL found since 2020, 2 children have died while under the care of Nash County DSS. 1-year-old Chase Hilliard died from a traumatic brain injury in 2020. His mother is accused in his death. And 8-year-old Crystal Lane's grandmother is charged in the girl's death earlier this year. WRAL found the deaths came after recommendations were made to DSS leaders to remove the children from their homes, but the action wasn't taken. Since our investigation, 2 commissioners have expressed concern about the leadership at the DSS.
A Fayetteville family is dealing with heartbreak this morning after a girl was shot earlier this week. Sadly, we've learned she's now died from her injuries. The family of 8-year-old Genesis Dockery says she died Thursday. Hundreds of people gathered for a vigil at Vander Walking Track to show their support. Nearly 300 people stood in solidarity to remember Genesis. However, her family instructed them not to speak with the media last night. Genesis was shot at a home on Mercedes Drive in Fayetteville on Tuesday. Investigators have not released any other details about how it happened.
And breaking news this morning, we have learned this year's Emmy Awards have been postponed because of the strike by Hollywood actors and writers. That's according to a report from Variety. The awards show had been scheduled to air on Fox September 18th. The delay comes as Hollywood productions slowed down as the Writers Guild of America went on strike May 2nd. Nearly all remaining productions stopped after SAG-AFTRA began a strike July 14th.
This morning, we're working to learn the name of the soldier who was killed in a motorcycle crash in Fayetteville. It happened on Yadkin Road. The WRAL Breaking News Tracker was there last night as crews investigated. You can see a wide section of the road was taped off. Authorities say the soldier from Fort Liberty hit an SUV around 8 p.m. Investigators say they're working to determine who is at fault and whether charges will be filed.
Former President Donald Trump is headed back on the campaign trail as he faces another indictment over classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. Trump will speak in Iowa tonight alongside most other 2024 GOP presidential candidates. The event will come just 24 hours after Jack Smith's special counsel hit Trump with 2 new charges. Trump and his valet and his maintenance chief are all charged trying to remove evidence from Mar-a-Lago. And that includes an attempt to delete video surveillance footage. The new charges come as the Trump legal team is meeting with the special counsel's office about another investigation into efforts to overturn the 2020 election.
And this is new video showing barricades being put up around the Fulton County Courthouse. This is in Atlanta, Georgia, where a special grand jury is looking into possible election interference of Trump and his team. Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis has hinted that charging decisions will come sometime between July 31st and August 18th.
Happening today, we'll get a better idea how we're spending our money and how it's affecting the U.S. economy. A new personal consumption expenditures report, the PCE, is set to be released. This new data will measure buying habits and price changes from last month. It will also provide insight on Americans' saving methods.
We want to remind you, Wake County has places you can go to cool yourself down from this dangerous heat. Today, you can visit any air-conditioned public library during regular business hours. The County Health and Human Services Center and Regional Center will also be open from 8:30 a.m. until 5:15 p.m.
Get all your good luck charms together. Nearly $1 billion is up for grabs in the Mega Millions drawing tonight. We checked. As of this morning, the jackpot is an estimated $910 million. If you win, the cash option would be a little more than $464 million. It would be the 5th largest jackpot in Mega Millions history. Tonight's drawing will be live right here on WRAL right before our 11 o'clock newscast.
It is 4:39. A new legal battle this morning regarding disgraced sports doctor Larry Nassar. Why some of his sexual assault survivors are now filing a lawsuit against his former employer, Michigan State University.
Plus, COVID concerns are back among us. What new data shows about rising cases across North Carolina?
And here's a live look at the DBAP in Durham. The dangerously hot temperatures return again today. After the break, meteorologist Anthony Baglione joins us to explain what we're in for through the weekend and next week.
From the WRAL Severe Weather Center, North Carolina's most experienced team of meteorologists.
Welcome back. Time now is 4:43 here on this Friday morning, where we continue to track this heat that just has been relentless over the past couple of days. Let's talk about where we sit right now, because of course in our viewing area we have our heat advisory that goes in place through tomorrow evening. But even back toward the Great Plains, we have excessive heat warnings in place. It is a very large chunk of the country right now that is dealing with this heat. Feeling like 107 for us today. We really keep that today, tomorrow, about 106 into our Saturday. When we see some relatively cooler temperatures, I know that's the big question for a lot of us, that really comes in on Monday, and that's saying something, right, when 92 is relatively cooler. But I think Monday into Tuesday of next week, feeling a little bit better, so we should get a break from this heat.
Good morning, Ken Smith here at the WRAL Live Center. A disturbing story out of California. This man right here, 39-year-old Mark McKetchoff, is accused of stabbing a woman to death and posting the whole incident on Facebook. Police arrested him, and as officers found the victim dead in this apartment complex right here in San Mateo, California. This is in Northern California. Police got wind of this deadly stabbing from Facebook users who led authorities right to McKetchoff with his phone number, his address. Investigators say he knew the victim, but no word yet on the motive. He is due in court later today.
That is disturbing, Ken. Thanks for the update. New this morning, the attorney for a group of women who were sexually abused by Larry Nassar have now filed a lawsuit against Michigan State University. It alleges the school's board of trustees held illegal secret votes to prevent thousands of documents from being released in the case. The victims and their families want a judge to push the university to release the documents. Nassar is a former sports physician at the school and former USA gymnastics doctor. He's been convicted of child pornography charges and is serving time in prison.
Bond has been set for the man accused of having a bomb when he pulled into a Sheetz at Holly Springs. 50-year-old Norman Bray made his first court appearance yesterday following the arrest. On Wednesday, police say they found him inside his car at the Sheetz off Avent Ferry Road with a bomb. They also say he had drugs. The Raleigh bomb squad was called out to the scene to help defuse the device and get rid of it safely. Bray's bond was set at $120,000. His next court appearance is in August.
We're trying to get new information from investigators in the search for a missing Moore County woman. New video from Charlotte shows police searching the home of Alicia Watts' boyfriend, James Dunmore. We still don't know what authorities found or if Dunmore is a person of interest in the case. Watts was last seen on July 16th. Officers found Dunmore unresponsive in her SUV in Anson County 2 days later.
You may want to go back to wearing masks. COVID cases are back on the rise across North Carolina. Recently released data shows the virus is the most prevalent it's been in wastewater since April. There are 14 million virus particles per person. That's a jump of 218% in just 5 weeks. If you're having trouble finding at-home COVID tests, we have information posted for you online at WRAL.com. Carowinds is responding to rumors online that there's a second crack in the support beams of its Fury 325 roller coaster. The ride is currently undergoing inspections and tests after a break in a support beam was spotted weeks ago. WRAL reached out to Carowinds about the rumors of a second crack and received this statement. During such reviews, it is not uncommon to discover slight weld indications in various locations of a steel superstructure. It's important to note these indications do not compromise the structural integrity or safety of the ride.
Part of the reason we all still get those unwanted robocalls may be because more than 5,000 phone providers have not upgraded their defenses. 5 on Your Side read through a new report from an advocacy group that says the problem is with smaller companies that originate or patch calls. A 2021 law ordered them to upgrade to new caller ID standards by the end of June, but fewer than 40% have. The law also gives the FCC the power to essentially stop these providers from operating if they don't get the update.
Using that threat and that power is something that we definitely would want to see.
Robocall blocking apps are another tool you can use to keep these calls from reaching you, even if those calls do get through. Never give or confirm information about yourself to a caller you weren't expecting. 4:47 the time right now. We expect some heat once again today. Anthony Baglione in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. Just how bad it'll get. Is getting closer to the weekend here. We know it's going to be hot all weekend.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think we see kind of a break from this heat until early next week. That's when it gets a little bit better here. But of course, if you're headed out this weekend traveling or just making those weekend plans, the heat is certainly going to be a factor for us. Let's talk about where we sit right now, because you walk outside, we're at 81 is what it feels like in Raleigh. So it is warm. It's not totally uncomfortable quite yet. 77 there in Clinton, 77 is where we sit in Goldsboro. That's that actual air temperature plus the humidity is what it feels like out there. Our heat advisory, though, goes into effect later this morning, but that's going to be our big story for today. So I want to make you aware of that so you're nice and safe this afternoon. It's across all of our entire viewing area right now, but you head up to the north there, even toward Norfolk and Richmond, Virginia. That is an excessive heat warning, meaning those feels like temperatures are above 110. We're expecting about 105 to 109 this afternoon. Here's a look around the triangle. We'll take Raleigh specifically. 107 is what it'll feel like at 3 o'clock, 106 at 5. Actual air temperatures still in the mid to upper 90s. So very similar to what we saw yesterday, only it feels like temperatures greater than what we saw yesterday afternoon. Rain chance wise here to kind of help cool us down. I know that's another big question, is are we going to see any relief from that? We do have the chance today for a few showers. It's going to be very minimal at best, but we head through the day. There's lunchtime looking pretty dry at that point. There's a couple quick pop-up storms that may start to push their way in, especially for our southern areas. It's by no means a big rainmaker, but that chance is certainly there if you get under them for some cooler weather, just at least a little bit. We're at 95 there on Saturday, 94 on Sunday. Tomorrow afternoon, I do think especially our northern counties could get a better chance of some storms pushing through, especially into the evening, let's say, because of this system up to the north. We'll talk about that more in depth the next time we meet, but I want to make you aware of that. 92 is what it'll feel like there on Monday, so feeling a little bit better here once we get beyond the weekend. And next week, too, is going to be a big time change for us back in the 80s. We're at 98 for us today. That heat advisory goes till tomorrow evening, 95 on Saturday. There's about a 30% chance of some showers and storms here. Our northern areas, like I said, have the best chance of that. Sunday, a quick pop-up storm, 90 on Monday, and then I'm loving the forecast there for, if you've not been loving the heat, guys, for temperatures back in the upper 80s into Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Yeah, even 90 would just seem normal.
Yeah, well, and that's much better. High 80s, we'll take it.
Sold. Caught on camera, a unique and hard landing turns out to be a bad escape plan. After the break, what a burglar did that landed him front and center with police. This is a group of local high school students well on their way to changing the world. They attend Enloe High School in Raleigh, and they're one of 10 teams in the country selected for a healthcare innovation program. WRAL's Grace Holland explains how this team tackled a health issue many women face and how their work could be life-saving.
These Enloe students teamed up for a national medical competition. They chose to target a real-world problem faced by many women: menstrual health and access to care.
There was a lack of information on reproductive health.
They agreed on a goal:
give menstruating people access to health care within their safety and comfort of their own homes.
They needed a sensible solution.
So our pad would be completely reusable so that people wouldn't have to keep throwing it out. It wouldn't accumulate more waste.
Sensible is the name of the menstrual pad. Beyond its usual use, the pad can also screen for cervical diseases.
They would be able to know whether or not they have a risk for getting cervical cancer or an STD like HPV.
The teens say many families aren't comfortable discussing these issues.
We realized that talking about it is the first step to breaking down that barrier.
The big challenge was creating the device itself.
It's just she learned to sew in a week to create our first prototype. Like, she was just passionate about this.
Their passion carried them to meet with MIT experts and a grant to help them develop their product for real-world use. It's a lesson for all students.
When students have access to opportunity and when they're supported through those opportunities, they're an example of what's possible.
Grace Holland, WRAL News.
Their innovative spirit is so impressive. You can help the American Red Cross today at the streets at South Point. A blood drive will be happening in front of the Nordstrom on the lower level today from 12:30 to 6:30. The American Red Cross says the country is facing a critical blood shortage. This is one in a series of blood drives in a partnership between the streets at South Point and Red Cross.
A person trying to rob a bank in Ohio is in the can in more than one way. How about that scene? Officers responded to an alarm at the Vacation Land Federal Credit Union in Huron, Ohio, early Thursday. They heard noises coming from the roof over the bank's drive-thru, and then moments later, that man dropped down from the roof straight into a blue recycling can. The 27-year-old suspect was arrested right there, still in the can. He's now being held in the can on $50,000 bond.
Wow. Did you know Raleigh once had its very own castle? Sitting across from the governor's mansion today is a large but unassuming state parking lot. You never know when a plain-looking lot is hiding a fantastical history. 4 stories tall, made of solid red brick with massive, majestic turrets and a wraparound porch draped like lace over a myriad of tall windows. Built in the late 1800s, this castle was the original campus for Meredith University. So what happened to this grand castle? We have the full story on WRAL.com. Search Hidden History.
I want to know that. The DMV is trying to reduce long lines at locations by adding hours on Saturdays. Coming up in our next half hour, why you may have to make a drive to avoid waiting a long time.
More changes are being made to UNC's admissions policies. We'll tell you what was approved this week that's getting pushback from some board members. Plus,
I've seen whales everywhere, from Cabo to Hawaii to Alaska to Mass. I mean, everywhere. I've never seen an in-sync triple aerial ballet like that.
I mean, who has? A stunning display by a pod of whales off the coast of Massachusetts. We'll hear from the man who caught this video and what made the experience so special for him and his 3 daughters.